Welcome to Smart Updates, your trusted source for breaking headlines, global insights, and sharp analysis from around the world. If you are new here, do not forget to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an update. I don't think people understand just how devastating a single export rejection can be for thousands of families. In Davao del Sur, the usual promise of harvest was replaced by a suffocating silence. The land, once alive with the anticipation of bounty, now seemed to hold its breath, waiting for a future that suddenly felt uncertain. Mang Lito, a third-generation farmer, walked his orchard, staring at durians that yesterday meant hope, and today, only loss. Each step he took between the trees was heavier than the last, his heart weighed down by the sight of fruit that had transformed overnight from treasure to burden. The trucks that should have come to collect his fruit never arrived. The familiar rumble of engines and shouts of workers were replaced by an eerie stillness, as if the world had simply moved on without them. Instead, a call. The deal was off. China had rejected the shipment. The words echoed in his mind, each syllable a blow to his dreams and the future he'd worked so hard to build. 60,000 tons of durian, once a fortune, now a ticking clock to rot. The sweet pungent aroma that once signaled prosperity now marked the countdown to disaster as fruit piled up in every corner of the farm. Lito touched a ripe fruit, its aroma, once sweet with success, now stung of failure. The pride he once felt in his harvest was replaced by a deep, aching sense of helplessness. He wasn't alone. Across the region, thousands of farmers faced the same crushing news. Conversations that once buzzed with excitement now carried only worry and despair. As neighbors gathered to share their shock and confusion, they'd been told China was their golden ticket, encouraged to expand, invest, and borrow. Many had taken out loans, planted new trees, and poured every peso they had into the promise of a brighter tomorrow. The government had celebrated the 2023 export deal as a new era of prosperity. Officials posed for photos, promising that Filipino durian would soon be a prized delicacy on foreign tables, and farmers believed them. Farmers poured their savings and hopes into durian, only to watch the promise decay on the ground. The sight of rotting fruit was more than a financial blow. It was the slow unraveling of years of hard work and trust. The rejection sent shockwaves through the industry, a sudden brutal halt. Markets that once bustled with activity now stood empty, and the community felt the sting of collective loss. For these farmers, it's not just financial loss, it's betrayal. They had done everything right, followed every guideline, and still, the rug was pulled from under them. They followed the rules, prepared for the boom, but the ground shifted without warning. Now, they sift through paperwork and broken promises, wondering how to explain the loss to their families. On November 12, 2025, the future of Philippine durian hangs in the balance, fragile as the fruit they can't sell. Every day that passes, the uncertainty grows, and the question of what comes next haunts every waking moment. The dream has soured, and the weight is almost unbearable. For Mang Lito, and thousands like him, the hope that once filled these orchards has been replaced by a heavy silence, as they wait for a sign that things might one day turn around. The Philippine durian's journey to China was fueled by ambition and hope. For decades, Filipino farmers dreamed of tapping into the world's largest market, believing their unique fruit could change their lives forever. For years, Filipino farmers watched neighbors in Thailand and Vietnam profit from China's insatiable appetite for durian. Shipments from these countries flooded Chinese markets, and their farmers reaped the rewards, inspiring envy and determination in the Philippines. The Philippines, with its perfect climate and rich volcanic soil, seemed destined to join them, but strict regulations and phytosanitary barriers kept fresh fruit out. Hopes were repeatedly dashed as shipments were blocked, and the dream remained just out of reach. After years of painstaking negotiations, a breakthrough finally came in 2023. Fresh durian, especially the prized Puyat variety, could at last enter China. This historic agreement was celebrated as a turning point for the entire industry. Jubilation swept the industry. Officials predicted billions in revenue. Farmers rushed to expand, invest, and borrow. The promise of prosperity seemed within grasp, and optimism soared across durian-growing regions. Land was converted, loans taken, and the entire agricultural ecosystem pivoted to durian. Nurseries sold out of saplings, and banks offered new credit lines to eager growers. The message was clear: plant more. China is waiting. Every farmer wanted a piece of the action, and local governments encouraged the expansion. The potential was staggering, and a durian rush swept Davao. Trucks rolled out daily, carrying dreams of fortune along with the spiky fruit. Farmers gambled everything, confident the Chinese market would deliver. Families staked their futures, investing savings and taking on new risks. The industry bet on a golden future, one that until now seemed all but guaranteed. The promise of wealth and transformation was almost tangible, but the stakes were higher than anyone realized. Beneath the excitement, uncertainty and risk quietly grew, threatening to turn dreams into hard lessons. China's official reason for rejecting the shipment was non-compliance with phytosanitary requirements. Inspectors found mealybugs and scale insects, enough to halt trade instantly. But beneath the surface, other forces were at play: politics, economics, and fierce competition. Some point to South China Sea tensions, others to the Philippines' inexperience compared to Thailand and Vietnam. Quality issues, ripeness, blemishes, inconsistent sizing can doom a shipment in China's premium market. Exporting 60,000 tons of perishable fruit is a logistical nightmare. A single misstep can be catastrophic. For a newcomer, the learning curve is steep and unforgiving. The rejection is a harsh lesson in the precision global trade demands. Inexperience, politics, and quality all collided, and the farmers paid the price. Maria, a single mother, borrowed heavily to invest in her durian crop. She spent months tending to her trees, waking before dawn to water the roots and check for pests, all in the hope that this season would finally bring her family some stability. Now, her fruit, and her dreams, are rotting on the ground, victims of a market collapse she never saw coming. The sweet scent of durian has turned bitter, a daily reminder of her mounting debts. She had planned to fix her leaking roof and buy her children new uniforms for school, hoping to give them a better future. Instead, she counts every peso, wondering how she'll keep the lights on. Instead, Maria faces the terrifying prospect of losing her land, the only thing she has left to pass on to her children. Down the road, Roberto, an elderly farmer, converted his coconut farm to durian, pouring his savings into new trees. He dreamed of leaving a legacy for his grandchildren, something that would last beyond his years. Now, he can't even give the fruit away. Piles of unsold durians line the roadside, and each day he returns home with more than he left with. The local market is flooded. Prices have collapsed to the point where selling is pointless. Farmers watch helplessly as their hard work goes to waste. Frustration boils over at community meetings. Farmers blame cooperatives for overpromising profits, and the government for pushing them into a risky market without proper support or information. They showed us videos of rich Chinese eating durian, but didn't teach us what China really wants, says Paulo, a young farmer. He remembers the excitement those videos brought, and now feels misled. The sense of betrayal is deep, dividing communities that once stood together. Neighbors who used to help each other now argue over who is to blame. Sleepless nights, shame, and despair are everywhere. Many farmers lie awake, haunted by the fear of losing everything. You pour your soul into this land, Manglito says, his hands rough from decades of work. Every seed, every harvest, is a piece of yourself. To see it end like this, it breaks your spirit. Tears fall as he speaks, the pain of loss etched into his face. The emotional toll is as heavy as the financial loss. Families sit together in silence, unsure of what to say or how to comfort each other. Farmers question if it's even worth planting again. The future feels like a gamble, and hope is fading with each passing day. The crisis has left a scar on the community's psyche, changing the way neighbors interact and eroding the trust that once held them together. Trust is fraying, and hope is in short supply. Every conversation is tinged with anxiety and doubt. The harvest of despair is real. Orchards once full of promise now stand as graveyards of wasted effort. The future feels uncertain for everyone. Yet as the sun rises each day, the farmers still look out over their fields, searching for a reason to hope. The collapse of the durian deal ripples far beyond the orchards. Seasonal workers are sent home with empty pockets. Small businesses that support farming see sales plummet. Trucking companies, eateries, and stores all feel the pinch as farmers stop spending. Cooperatives, once pillars of support, now face financial ruin as loans go unpaid. Mistrust and stress rise, families struggle, and youth lose faith in farming. Schools and clinics dependent on a healthy local economy brace for hardship. The failure of one crop threatens to drag the entire rural economy backward. Progress stalls, and the cycle of subsistence tightens its grip. In the aftermath, blame flies in every direction. Farmers accuse the government and cooperatives of negligence and empty promises. Officials deflect, blaming exporters and packing houses for poor execution. Cooperatives admit being overwhelmed, and some point to harsh Chinese inspections, hinting at politics. The cycle of finger-pointing erodes trust and blocks real solutions. Every stakeholder shares some responsibility, but unity is missing. Without honest collaboration, the same mistakes will be repeated. The crisis exposes deep cracks in the system. With durian rotting, immediate action is critical. The government must buy surplus fruit, even at a loss, to inject cash and prevent total waste. A nationwide campaign should boost domestic consumption, durian for a cause, supermarket promos, and social media drives. Rapidly scaling up processing, freezing candy jam, can save much of the harvest. Grants for equipment and facilities are vital. Most urgently, a loan moratorium is needed to prevent mass bankruptcies and land loss. These aren't handouts, they're lifelines to stabilize a sector in freefall. Quick, decisive action can soften the blow and buy time for recovery. To avoid another disaster, the industry must transform, establish strict national quality standards, and train farmers in pest management and export requirements. Government extension workers must be present year-round, not just in crisis. Diversify export markets, Japan, Korea, the Middle East, even Europe. To reduce dependence on China, invest in world-class post-harvest infrastructure, packing houses, cold storage, logistics, fund research for better varieties and new products, build true partnerships between government, cooperatives, and farmers, with transparency and risk-sharing. Crop insurance and clear communication are essential. Only united action can turn crisis into lasting strength. The fields of Davao are quiet, the smell of rotting fruit a bitter reminder of broken promises. The devastation is real, but so is the resilience of Filipino farmers. They've survived typhoons and droughts. They will survive this. The crisis has exposed deep flaws, over-reliance on one market, weak quality control, poor infrastructure, but it also forces a necessary conversation about building a smarter, stronger future. Solutions, diversification, quality, investment require patience and unity. The pregnant of this harvest must fuel a collective will to rebuild. Like the durian's thorny shell, this crisis hides a seed of hope. If lessons are learned, this could be the beginning of true transformation. For the farmers of the Philippines, the hope is that this bitter season will lead to a sweeter tomorrow.